Hey, Riley J2A here. Okay, back with another episode of exposing the spread of the anti-2A agenda. Okay, this is a series where I take, common means of spreading anti-2A, things, points, whatever they may be, and I break them down one major talking point per episode. Okay. In the last episode, I talked about anti-gun school systems. Okay, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about probably the biggest talking point, maybe in this series, because it's big. Mainstream media. Okay, that's what I'm talking about in this episode. Now, what is mainstream media, you may ask? It's, you could throw lots of things in there, but, if in this video I'm talking about social media platforms, such as the one I'm on, and I'm talking about mainstream news outlets, okay, all the big ones. So that's what I'm talking about in this, for the purpose of this particular video. That's what mainstream media is going to be in this video, and we're going to talk about how is mainstream media used to spread anti-2A propaganda, agenda, whatever you might call it. But this really applies to pretty much everything. I mean, almost everything is, treated in this way, because everybody's got an agenda, right? So I'm just going to talk. I'm going to make some points, and hopefully you guys will understand. Or hopefully this will help you guys to understand. How it happens, how it is spread in the way that it is spread, and why. Okay, so and what you can do to hopefully avoid this misinformation. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, getting right into it, one thing that is done in the media a lot is, well, they censor one side of a situation while they push the other. Not only do they censor one side and not the other, but they're pushing the other, okay? So clearly having people misinformed. And this happens in, on like news outlets where they'll simply talk about one side and not the other, or talk super negatively and often falsely about the other. But it also happens on media platforms where, somebody might say one thing that goes against the agenda, while somebody says something that supports the agenda. That person who says something against the agenda, they might get deleted, they might get blocked, they might get banned, their post might get deleted, while the person who said something in support of the agenda, their content might be boosted way up in the algorithm, okay? That's the same difference, really, whether it be on a tech platform or in mainstream news. It's the same thing. They're censoring one side while pushing the other. Okay, that fits the dictionary definition of propaganda. Okay, so that is propaganda. Those who tell you that propaganda, it's not real, it no longer exists. Okay, they're mistaken. All right, that is propaganda. Them telling you propaganda doesn't exist, propaganda. All right. So, give me a second. Keeping that in mind, let me just make an example here, okay? Okay, I think all of us in the Second Amendment community are probably familiar with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, okay, from Kenosha. Well, take that for example. After this happened, they were saying horrible things, horrible lies in the media, calling him, white supremacist, even, among other things. He was even called, I believe he was called a mass shooter. Okay, clearly false, lies. But the media was saying all this stuff, and those who stood with Kyle Rittenhouse, their content was really buried in the algorithm. Mainstream news didn't talk about it. They only talked about the false, the lies, and then the lies were pushed in on big tech platforms, while the truth was, like I said, buried in the algorithm. Okay, that's just an example of how this type of propaganda is being used by mainstream media. Let's take another form of propaganda. Okay, we're talking about video tampering. Okay, let's continue using the Kyle Rittenhouse example. Okay, mainstream media. Okay, they showed the footage of one of the shootings, of one of the Rittenhouse shootings. Um, but it was tampered. Okay, so they showed the clip when Kyle Rittenhouse shot the one who got shot in the arm and lived. I don't remember his name. Dirtbag. Okay, that works. When they showed in the on news outlets when he shot this individual. Okay, but it there was a clip in there. Okay, there was a cut. It showed this guy running up to Kyle Rittenhouse. Then there was a cut, and it showed Kyle Rittenhouse shoot and this guy run away. They clipped out that 1 second where this guy raised a handgun at Kyle Rittenhouse's head. Okay, put a gun in his face. They clipped that out on mainstream news platforms. That is absolutely propaganda. Okay, by definition, that is tampering with the footage. Okay, tampering with the facts. So it's not hard to find these examples of this. Okay, like you can take anything. Okay, the left does this often and most prominently, but you can find the right doing this type of propaganda as well. It is very hard today to just get accurate information, just the whole story, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So hard, almost impossible to get at times today. And doing stuff like this is the reason that is, and it's really unfortunate because there's a lot of people out there, especially like older people, who they believe that mainstream news is the most reliable place for news. Okay, they believe that a news anchor, there is no one more trustworthy and believable than a news anchor. Okay, so these people over their entire lives have been indoctrinated to think that the news is the most reliable place. And maybe at one time it was. Yeah, I don't personally think so, but maybe at one time it was. That time is no longer. Okay, we got to really keep that in mind. It's really unfortunate. And then the same thing applies to going on your social media account, whatever platform you may be on. You're going to see people's posts, people's content that fit the agenda, and you're going to have to look hard to find those who don't fit the agenda. You might not know that you need to look for that. So you're still just getting one side of the story. Okay. You're not getting the whole picture. You're not getting accurate information. And that's not even to mention the fact that these platforms push false statistics. Okay, like talking to, firearms. there is so much tampering with the data around, gun uses and whatnot. I'm not going to talk about too much about statistics in this video because I plan on doing a separate video on firearm related statistics and gun statistics related to gun use, but that's going to be a future video. In any case, these mainstream news platforms, they push false statistics. Rather, they just leave certain statistics out and don't tell you, or they compare one statistic to another that isn't even really relevant and try to push that as like, oh, look how much worse it got. Like, for example, the 94 assault weapon ban, okay? They tell you that crime got way worse after that ban sunsetted. What they don't tell you is, yeah, the numbers were higher, but this is when the ban was implicated, and this is when it sunsetted. They don't tell you that it was rising before that, it continued rising, and was still rising after it sunsetted. They don't tell you all that, though. So that's just another means of propaganda and false statistics and tampering with statistics, okay? So the takeaway from this video, because I've been rambling for a while now, the takeaway from this video is going to be, the truth is not as easy to find as you might think. It's not. Don't watch one news story or read one post and think you know the whole situation, okay? What you can do to avoid this type of propaganda and this, agenda, because everybody's got an agenda, okay? Everybody has personal bias, okay? What you can do to avoid getting this false or altered information, okay, it's time consuming. A lot of people don't want to do it. It might not be fun. Gotta do your own research, okay? That is that's the option, okay? Do your own research. Look high and low, and you will hopefully get as much of the truth as you can. Truth is very hard to find nowadays, though. Okay, and that is why it's so easy for these, anti-gun talking points to be spread, because the truth is so hard to find. Okay, and a lot of people, unfortunately, do believe whatever they're told, whatever they see on mainstream news. They believe that's a reliable source. Okay, and it isn't. So we got to keep all this in mind. How they spread this type of propaganda, how people are so quick to believe it, and why. That's these people have believed their whole lives that mainstream opinion is trustworthy. And, we also got to keep in mind what we can do not to fall into these traps, which is do your own research, okay? And you can find people out there who, maybe private journalists or whatever, who are going to do very good work and get you closer to the truth. But like I said, everybody has an agenda, so you should also do your own research, okay? You can take opinions from here and here and here, and then do your own research. If there's footage of a situation, maybe try to find the raw footage rather than find the footage that was posted by a mainstream news platform. Not a bad idea, okay? So all this should be kept in mind, but the most important thing you can do for yourself really is do your own research before coming to a conclusion. Before you take a hard stance on anything, do your own research, okay? If you hear something and it doesn't quite stack up, do your own research, all right? Nothing bad will come from doing your own research. Simply, okay? So that's going to be it for me. This is a, pretty spicy video, I got a little heated, but this topic it upsets me. I don't. It's unfortunate to see this type of propaganda. It is even more unfortunate to see people believing this type of propaganda. So yeah, whoever's watching this video, good on you for finding it because as I said, this type of content gets buried in the algorithm. Okay, so in any case, I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye.